Hey guys. Okay, so somebody asked, like, what are the acceptable studies, or I guess what they were getting at were the designs. What are acceptable for GCU? Okay, I'm only going to give you information as far as I know. Okay, the school has redone the core design sheets for each methodology. So let's see. This is the qualitative. Is it? Yes. Okay. So a descriptive. Then you have phenomenology, which is totally fine. A qualitative case study and a narrative. There is also grounded theory, but as far as I have been aware since I started in 2017, they don't necessarily want a student, a novice researcher, to do grounded theory, mainly because it's super involved. And if you want to graduate, in a reasonable amount of time, it's best to avoid this unless your recommendations call for it. 1 second. Can we, if any of you have a cat, you know my pain. Sounded like a hairball. Okay, sorry. It is what it is. Okay, so we don't want to necessarily, you don't really want to go grounded theory if you can at all help it. And I made that other video about how everything comes back from the literature. So, a lot of your recommendation is going to determine really what your methodology is. And then it's going to determine also what your design is. So one design, QDD is no less difficult than a case study, and a case study is not necessarily more or less difficult than phenomenology. The design is driven by what your study is. And so it's driven by what your recommendations are. So I can't tell you, hey, you should do this, or hey, you should do that. Your chair will help you decide that. If you're going to go to residency prior to getting, if you end up going to a residency prior to getting your committee, the residency professor can help you narrow down what design is best. And then as far as quantitatives go, you have your non-experimental class of designs like correlation, correlational predictive, like does a good night's rest predict higher GPA? Okay, I mean, that's what we mean when we say predictive. Comparative is the differences between groups. You a lot of times hear that as causal comparative. And then we've added this here to kind of make it just a little bit more clear. An ex post facto design. That's when you're looking at the differences between two or more groups, but you're not collecting the data. You're using secondary data, like you didn't collect it, but somebody gave you information from like a nationwide database or something. That would be that. And then there's your experimental class and your quasi-experimental. So you need to, if you don't have these, you should be able to ask your chair for these. They should have these by now. To my understanding, all of these are accepted and allowed for novice researchers to do. True experimental, I don't think it necessarily takes longer. It's not harder or easier than anything else, but those are the designs for quantitative and qualitative. So, and like I said, that's driven by your methodology, and your chair and your committee will help you form up from your recommendations what kind of methodology that's implying that you have to do, and then they'll help you decide on the right design based on whatever your problem statement is. So work with your committee And if they're telling you not to do a specific design, there's usually a very good reason for it. Like it doesn't really go with what you want to do, or you might not want to do that because it might take a little longer, or, get the feedback, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions of your committee. That's why they are there. Ask them all the questions you need to ask them. But as far as I know, the quantitative designs are all fine for a learner to do, but in qualitative, the only one that I'm aware of that they really don't want you to do is grounded theory, and that's only because it can take a pretty long time, and the goal is to get you to graduation. So that covers the video on what designs, I guess, or what studies are deemed acceptable.